Well, hiya, BookTube. Bill Ruttenberg here with the Ruttenberg Library. A big ol' happy new year to you. I wanted to come to you with a video for my 2023 TBR list. And I am so excited to get this year started with the reading that I have got planned. I've got so much stuff in store that I'm guessing I'll never get it done. And yeah, that's just the way it is, but I do have big plans. I have a stack of 12 books that are going to go on my general, I want to get these read this year list, and then I have several reading events that I will be taking part in throughout the year, and then I have some personal reading challenges for myself as I've developed as a reader here on BookTube over the last few years. I've picked up some habits from other people, and I want to get to reading some series of books, and I'm well on my way. I've really got that going, and I'm pretty excited about it. So anyway, let me share with you some of the events. I'll start with the events that I want to take part in this year. So last year, it was at the end of summer, I came up with a challenge for myself, the TBR Elimination Challenge. Now, I have been working on that throughout 2022, and I'm going to continue to work on that throughout 2023. And basically what that is since I've been on BookTube, I've made a yearly list, I've made, plans for March Mystery Madness, I've made plans for nonfiction November, etc. Like many of you, I've made these TBR lists, and I think since I've been on BookTube, I have only finished one of those lists, possibly two, but there's been several lists that I've made, and I just haven't gotten them knocked out. And so that is a challenge that I've put on myself, is to actually go back and knock out those TBR lists. And so I am going to be doing that throughout the year. I hope to kind of make a printout so that I have that sitting, right here in front of me, maybe as a way of prodding me to get this done. But I do know that I had a stack at the end of summer, or not even the end of summer. It was in October. I had a stack of books that were from the TBR lists that I sat on the table here, and I have knocked out, I think, all but one of those books. I think I have a I have a James McPherson book on the Battle of Antietam that I got to get knocked out, and sure enough, I will have had all of that those books that were from my TBR list knocked out. And so what I need to do is make a series of videos for you on these TBR elimination challenges, and just give you an update. I've been talking about that for the last few months, and I haven't done it yet. But that is definitely something that I have in the works as maybe even a little series of videos. And my hope is that not only will it help me with my TBR challenges, it will maybe prompt you to eliminate your TBRs. So anyway, that's going to be a year-long plan for me, is the TBR Elimination Challenge. And maybe I should have came to that one a little bit later with all my other personal reading challenges. But as far as reading events throughout the year, throughout 2022, since last March, I've been buying just here and there, picking up here and there mysteries. And so when March Mystery Madness comes around, I am like fully stocked in mysteries for the entire month. If I want to read nothing but mysteries, I could do that. Now, I won't do that because I got some other events going on that I just won't do that, for the whole month. But I will read some March Mystery Madness. I also have middle grade March that I plan on partaking in. I have bunches of books at school that the kids read that I've definitely, that's kind of a personal challenge to myself, is to update myself on all of the books that they have been reading. And I did a pretty good job of that last year. I read several books from, I'd asked our English teachers to give me a stack of books, and both of them gave me stacks of books, and I read through all of them. And so I need to look on my own shelves at school and start doing that again. But I might wait till middle grade March, because it's looking like things are going to get hectic for me with the reading stuff. But anyway, I also plan to participate in March of the Mammoths. Now, how that works out, I am not sure, because I have got some big books here in the top 12 books I want to get finished. And they're probably, I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I probably have 5 of them in this stack that I think would count. At least a couple of them I know would count towards that challenge. And I'm just going to wait. I'm not going to put any, set plans. I'm going to wait and see where I'm at with my reading to before I put that exact book out of what I'm going to do for March of the Mammoths. I know some of you do a couple, 3 books during the month. I could only get 1 done. So another awesome reading event that was put together last year was June on the Range, where it was just a month-long reading event for Westerns. And I have picked up a handful of Westerns for the month of June that I plan on plowing through and enjoying, just like I did last year. I read 4 or 5 of them last year, and I enjoyed every one of them. I even had a new one that I heard that I didn't even think of. It's one of my favorite movies of all time, The Shootist. And I'm thinking I'm going to try to pick that book up and read it during June on the Range. But anyway, I'm super excited about that. August of Adventures was a new event last year, and I plan on partaking in that. And it's just nothing but adventure stories. Now, I was listening to a live chat between Sean Standfast and Mark over at Book Time with Elvis, and they were talking about this year's August of Adventures might be even more geared towards nonfiction on the real side of things. Last year we did Tarzan and The Lost World, and there were a couple others I can't remember off the top of my head, but I read through those with the group, and that was fun. I loved listening in on the conversations, but I plan on doing that again. And then, of course, when November rolls around this next year, Nonfiction November, I'm always game on that. So that's just a no-brainer for me. And then the last one that I wanted to talk about that is new this year, and it's a year-long event, is Historathon 2023. Super excited about this. This is nonfiction history throughout the entire year. This was put together by Vin over at Revenant Reads, and I'm one of the co-hosts with this, and I have been just absolutely inundated with all of the messages that have been coming through on Voxer, and I'm so enjoying listening to this conversation because for the reading event itself, January through March is like prehistory up to 500 AD, and for me, I am not well read in that era at all. I've read very, very, very few books, and the people on Voxer can testify that I have left very, very few messages because this stuff is so over my head. But there are so many different ideas that are floating around on that Voxer group that I'm pretty pumped about it. And I actually cheated and started my book on New Year's Eve, the Babylonians. I read the first chapter of that, and I got that started, and it's interesting so far. Again, these books are going to be way out of my comfort level in my reading, but it's gonna get me to reading into unknown territory. How awesome is that? And then from the months of April through June, they're going to do 500 to 1500. And that's going to be like the Middle Ages and stuff like that. Now, when we're talking about this, I think Vin did a good job of pointing out that a lot of this is Europe-centered, the stuff that we are recommending, but this is not stuff that you have to stay in Europe. You can go read about Africa, about Asia, about Australia, whatever, South America. Does not matter where you're at as long as you're in the time period. And so you get to pick and choose your histories. So then from July through September, we are dealing with 1500 to 1820. And then in the last quarter of the year, it's 1820 to the present. So I am super excited about this. Again, I'm a co-host. There's several of us. I'm not going to list them because I don't have the names all in front of me. I'm afraid I'll leave one off. But if you're interested in that one, get involved. It's going to be awesome. So, rambling on enough about reading events. Now, personal challenges for myself this year that I have taken on. So, one of the things and I actually started this that first year I was on BookTube. Believe it or not, I'm coming up on my 3-year anniversary here for BookTube here in the middle of January, so I'm pretty excited about that. But anyway, since I started that first year in 2020, I had made it a goal towards the end of that year that I wanted to read through James Michener. I've got almost all, well, a good chunk of his books. I'm not going to say all of them. Probably half to 2/3 of his books are on my shelves upstairs, but I have not read them all because I've always been intimidated by the sizes of them. But I've tried to tackle at least one each year, 1 or 2 each year. And so right now, and this is going to be on my 2023 hit list. I'm trying to finish. Well, I say finish. I'm not very far into it. I'm about this far into the book, but I'm reading right now Centennial by James Michener, and that is the reading challenge I'm on. So I got to finish that because that was 2022 goal, and then the 2023 goal is Hawaii. I started this, like I've read, just a very, very little bit, not very far. Enjoying it, but I've started Hawaii, and I'm excited to see where that goes. That's my 2023 plan for the Michener Challenge. I want to go through his complete works, before I die, and if I'm going to get that done, I need to get going on it. So that is in the plans. Agatha Christie. Everybody talks about Agatha Christie. And until this last year, I had not read Agatha Christie. And so March Mystery Madness, I read Agatha Christie, and I enjoyed it. I read And Then There Were None. So for this whole year, I have Agatha Christie planned out for the entire year. So I started back in, it had been October. Peg over at the History Shelf had not read Miss Marple's, the books. She'd watched the movies, but she had not read the Miss Marple series. And so she's been doing a Marple a month. And so I have been doing that along with her and Martine, and they have read through, I believe, the first 3. And then I recall for book names. Of course, I'm not going to remember. Murder at the Vicarage was number 1. Body in the Library is number 2, and number 3 that's the latest one I read, and I'm not going to remember it off the top of my head, but we've read through those first 3, and I plan on reading the 4th one here in January. And that is going to be, I would show you that book, but that one's coming in the mail. That was part of my Christmas Amazon haul. Should be here in a week or 2. I bought the first 6 books of Miss Marple because I had been having to read them on ebook, and I don't like ebook. So I bought the hard copies, and so I'm real excited. I got the first 6 Miss Marples, so I'm set for January, February, and March because we've already read the first 3. So now I've got the second 3. And then in addition to that, because the Marples read so quickly, all of Agatha Christie's books, for the most part, read pretty quickly, I decided I'm also going to add in, starting here in January, I'm going to add in the Hercule Poirot mystery series. And so for January, I am reading his the first book in the Hercule Poirot series by Agatha Christie, The Mysterious Affair at Styles. And I just got this started. I've read the first chapter, and so far I like it. And when we went for my wife and I went on our anniversary, we've been married for 21 years. Can you believe that? We went to Barnes & Noble while we were out, and I bought I've got several of the Hercule Poirot series upstairs, but there's a whole bunch of them I don't have. But so I bought that first one, and then I also picked up number 2 in the series, and I hope to, as the time goes, I'll continue to pick those up. But don't you love those covers? I specifically wanted these. I love those covers. I don't know what it is about them, but they're just beautiful. So anyway, that's part of my personal reading challenge. Is I'm going to read a Marple a month and a Poirot a month. I hope to continue because of, and I blame this on Sean D. Standfast and throwing up all of these science fiction books. I hope to continue reading science fiction here and there throughout the year. I have some H.G. Wells that I've bought from the Vintage Classics. Love the covers on those. I left I don't know where those are at. They're around here somewhere. But anyway, I hope to continue reading those as I get, empty slots of time throughout the year. And let's see. I've also been trying to do the complete works of Stephen Ambrose, the historian, the famous. Well, he's famous probably most for his World War II books, but there were some other ones that he wrote outside of the World War II genre. And I've been hoping to read his complete works. I've got a good chunk of them upstairs. I've got most of them upstairs, but I started reading his early stuff, and I did complete somewhere around here. Oh, there it is. I did complete Halleck, which was the very first book that he wrote, and the next one on the list is one on, is it Upton in the Army, I think is what it's called. That was the second one that he wrote. It's a Civil War history, and I hope to just keep moving on in the Stephen Ambrose series. So now we are 16 minutes in, and now I'm going to give you the top 12 books that I want to get completed this year. This has been my goal for, some of these have been a goal for other years, and I just didn't get to them. So when I do get to them, it'll double up on my TBR challenge. But some of these are new to my stack. So I'm going to show you what I plan to get read in 2023. And let's see here. Start off with The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexander Demas. Now, this book, I have read the abridged version, absolutely loved it, saw the newer movie. I say newer, it's probably almost 20 years old now, but I absolutely love the movie. And so I want to read the original, and I've shared that with you before. I did not get to it this last year like I was hoping, and so that is on the list. Excuse me. I hope to get to this new baseball book that I got this last year, The Closer, My Story by Mariano Rivera, and it's co-written by Wayne Coffey. And I have read a little bit of the beginning of this. I started this while I was standing in Walmart waiting on my wife to shop, so I got a couple chapters done. Loved it. I absolutely... I was a big fan of Mariano Rivera. I thought he was class act for the Yankees. Totally enjoyed watching him pitch, and I'm excited about reading that biography. The next one I want to read, and I read the first volume of this series last year, and so this year I want to get to the second volume of this series, and it's Theodore Rex by Edmund Morris. This is volume 2 in his trilogy over Teddy Roosevelt. I'm a big fan of Teddy Roosevelt. I enjoy reading about him. I think he was a unique character in American history. And so this one is big on the list. Here is another one that was on last year's TBR list. And it's The Field of Blood, Violence in Congress and the Road to Civil War by Joanne Freeman. Now, I think I shared with you last year, I watch her videos because I think she teaches for Yale, and I've watched her class lectures, thoroughly enjoy them. I'm a nerd like that, but I thoroughly enjoyed her class lectures over the American Revolution, and then I've listened to a little bit of her Civil War stuff. But this was a book that she wrote about violence in Congress and how, that just all built up towards the Civil War. The next one on the list is also from last year's TBR list. This is The Ordeal of the Union, Volume 1. The Fruits of Manifest Destiny is Book 1, and then Book 2 is A House Dividing. And this is the famous Alan Nevin series that a whole lot of you told me when I got on BookTube, you haven't read that? You need to read that. Everybody told me that, and I just hadn't got to it. I'd seen it on... bibliographies of books. It was on my list of books to get, but every time I looked it up, it was expensive. Well, I found these, was it a year and a half ago, I think? I found these, and I bought all 4 volumes that each have 2 books in them, and I want to get these going. I want to get this started, so I hope to unwrap this thing and actually get going on it. Here's another one from last year's TBR list. It's going to be on this year's TBR list, and this is Rick Atkinson's. He wrote a trilogy on, it's called the Liberation Trilogy, based on World War II, and I wanted to get to this because I really loved his American Revolution book that he wrote, The British Are Coming, and I'm anticipating volume 2, whenever that will be. So An Army at Dawn, the War in North Africa, 1942 to 43. I'm super excited about this. I think this is going to be good. I really like his writing style. So those are the first 6. And you'll notice there's 12 on this list. And I do that so that, I plan out 1 per month. That's kind of my idea. Whether that happens or not, it's a whole nother topic. But anyway, that's always the goal. So here is Centennial by James Michener. Again, I've got this started, and I need to just start hammering on it. And so I am guessing in the next 3 months, probably over by spring break, I should have it done. I know that sounds like a long time to some of you, but I have a bad habit of reading like 10 books at one time. And so sometimes I don't get through books as quick as I should. But anyway, I thoroughly enjoying this. This is basically the history of Colorado put into a narrative, put into a story form, and really liking this. The next one on the list is The Civil War, a narrative from Fredericksburg to Meridian, and this is by Shelby Foote. This is book 2 in his trilogy, and you'll notice this is a chunky monkey. It's a monster. I buddy read this with Brian, and really enjoyed buddy reading with him. For me, Shelby Foote was a slower read, and I was also reading Bruce Catton's series at the same time, and I probably enjoyed Bruce Catton's probably a lot more than I enjoyed Shelby Foote, but I don't want to say that I didn't like Shelby Foote. It was, for me, just a slower paced book. But I know Brian went ahead and read volume 2. He plowed through that and really liked it. And I want to get volume 2 done because I got this nice, I don't know if you can, yep, you can see it. I got all 3 of those. I'd found those at the bookstore for a really good price, and I don't want to waste it. Anyway, the next one on the list, over the last couple of years, I have been reading Sidney Blumenthal's biography series on Abraham Lincoln, the political life of Abraham Lincoln. And I am ready for volume 3, All the Powers of Earth, from 1856 to 1860. And so this, I'm real excited about. I'm hoping it gets more into Abraham Lincoln. Honestly, when Sidney Blumenthal wrote this series of books, the last volume, which dealt with, was it 1848 to 1856, I think? It was more a history of the time period instead of a biography of Abraham Lincoln like it should have been. That kind of bothered me a little bit, but it was all right. It wasn't bad. I was wanting more Lincoln. So anyway, I plan to read volume 3 in that series. And then a couple other books that I really want to get read. I'll start with this one, and this one's for Historathon 2023. This is the biography of Cleopatra by Stacy Schiff, and this has been so well talked about on BookTube and everywhere else. I mean, nothing but high praise for this book. And so for this first, prehistory to 500, this falls in there. And so I want to read this because I really like Stacy Schiff's writing. I'm super excited about this. Another new one that I got, and it's by Stacy Schiff, is The Revolutionary, Samuel Adams. I'm going to put this on my 2023 list of books to read. I think this should go fairly quick, I believe anyway. It's only a little over 300 pages of actual text, so pretty excited about that. It should go fast. And then last but not least, book 12 months in the year, 12 books, one for each month, is the one that was written by my uncle. And I've read book 1. It was just as thick as this thing. And it's The Common Men in the War for the Common Man. and this is Book 2, Civil War of the United States, History of the 145th Pennsylvania Volunteers after Gettysburg through the war's end. And it's by Dr. Verel Salmon, and he lives up in Erie, Pennsylvania, and the 145th, a lot of those men that served from the 145th were from up around Erie, and he found his great-grandpa or great-great-grandpa's, all his letters and diary and all that kind of stuff, and he started putting together a history of the 145th, and all of the people in the area around Erie started hearing about him doing this, and he was making trips to the National Archives and the Library of Congress and stuff like that in Washington, D.C., and they found out about that, and they started looking up in their attics, and these books are nothing but primary sources, and his words just piece it all together. And I thoroughly enjoyed the first book in this series. I say series, it was only two volumes, but the first volume was really, really good. And so it's basically exactly what it says, a history of the 145th in the American Civil War. So anyway, BookTube, these are my monster plans for 2023. I'm looking forward to the year. I'm hoping I can get through some of this stuff and not get to the end of the year and feel disappointed. I felt really good about 2022 at the end of the year. It was, I read more books in 2022 than I have ever read. I know part of that was because I was reading some middle grade stuff and a lot more fiction than what I have in the past. I usually read nonfiction, which reads slower, but I've been reading more fiction, and so therefore my reading counts got higher. And that always makes you feel good, like you're getting stuff accomplished. But there were a couple other books that I would like to have gotten done. Mainly the ones I named in this stack that are carryovers. But at the same token, at the end of the summer, I made a stack of books I wanted to get through, and I got through all but one, and I'll be tackling that one sometime in the near future. But anyway, BookTube, this video is getting a little long, so I better start to cut it off here. Hope everyone's having a great new year. Let's have 2023 be the best reading year of yet. And so anyway, until next time, happy reading.